do you need to live close to where you are to join? So good question, Chino B, and thanks for asking it. And so he's wanted to know if people have to live close to where I am if they want to be part of the Urpoise people, whose foundations are built upon character, culture, and community development. So we see that community is one of the pillars of being an Urpoise man or woman. And one of the most important parts of any ethnic community is where they live, because the place where you live is the place where you rest. And it's also the place where you raise the next generation of people. It's also the place where you should be able to count on other people as well. And this is the place where you should ideally surround yourself with others who think the same. And it's community that brings unity. So yes, people do have to live next to other people in a physical Urpoise community. And so we haven't decided exactly where the first community is going to be, but we do have an idea of at least 3 really good options that are going to have opportunities, and they're here in Florida. And these are areas that are currently experiencing high levels of homes being placed on the market for sale, which is causing the housing prices to drop in those areas. Because as we all know, during the pandemic, the housing prices were inflated through the roof and everything became much more expensive than it was actually worth. But now that phase is over with, and the market is making a correction, and we're seeing areas like what I'm talking about becoming more affordable and more realistic in their prices. Now, the prices are still not where they should be at, but we can look at the trends and we can see that they're heading in that direction for those particular neighborhoods. So in the next 3 years, what we're expecting is the prices in those areas to be much more affordable, or even fairly priced, or even underpriced, which would be an opportunity for people to buy. And if that turns out not to be the case, then what we'll do is we'll just adjust, right? And we'll find another neighborhood to look into, to settle into, right? No problem. But what this means for us is that we have to move too, because right now we're in a very rural area on acres of land, and a rural area is not the most fitting place to build the communities that we're looking to build, right? To manifest the vision that we have in mind, we have to move back into the city areas, or we have to move into the suburbs, these places where many more people can occupy a given space, right? And also where you have flexibility in housing options like apartments, townhouses, and single family homes, and also where you have more options to rent and options to own, right? So we have to make a move too, which is no problem for us, right? You got to do what we have to do. But for now, until that time comes, what we're doing is we're crafting messages so we can find people who are wandering in the wilderness, right? Who are the right people with the right mind and who have the right heart to prepare them to enter into the promised land, or what we call Urpoisica, a place of unity, a place of righteousness, a place of peace, a place that's well organized, a place that's inviting, a place that's safe and has the lowest level of crime, a place of inspiration, a place that's clean, and a place that's alive, right? So that's the idea. But just like anything else that becomes great, there are kinks and there are problems that will need to be worked out during this process. So we're gonna need solution-oriented people, not victims, but solution-oriented people to help with the neighborhood building process, because it's a team effort where everyone involved has an important role to play, right? To move the team forward in its neighborhood goals. And once the kinks are worked out in the first neighborhood, then the experienced people from that neighborhood will be able to bring the model that we have built into other cities and other suburbs where the right people from those places could have the opportunity to join without having to move so far. But the first wave of people, they're gonna have to move, right? That's for sure, right? Because we need help establishing the system. And so another important thing of having a physical community is the mass mind that it creates. And so when you get around people who think the same, it reinforces belief patterns and it reinforces behaviors. So for example, I often drive through different neighborhoods to get different ideas about different communities and how they operate and function in general. And one of the communities that I often go to is in a place called Winter Park, which is a city that's northeast of Orlando. And many parts of Winter Park, they're either upper middle class neighborhoods or they're upper class neighborhoods, right? And so when driving through these neighborhoods, the one thing that sticks out to me is that these people who live in these neighborhoods, they really care about landscaping. And what landscaping does is it increases the visual appeal to the neighborhood and how the neighborhood feels. Now, these are not HOA communities, so the yard maintenance is not enforceable by some association. But what's doing the enforcing is the influence coming from the mass mind that's within those communities, right? The energy of expectation is what's causing everyone in those communities to maintain their yard. And everyone in that community is constantly reinforcing that belief by the behavior that they display, which is regularly maintaining their yard. So if someone new were to move into one of these neighborhoods, they would see everyone else's yard cared for. And that sight would significantly influence them to take care of their yard too. Now, it doesn't mean that they are going to do it, but it does make it much more likely that they're going to take care of their yard too. Because one thing that people do not like is to stick out. They do not like this thing, right? This is part of the herd mentality that is part of humans, right? Humans are like herd animals, where they tend to conform to what the rest of the group does. And who wants to be the only person with an unkept yard in a neighborhood full of people who keep their yard well kept? It's not many people who want to be this person. So the mass mind is a very powerful tool for influence. And it can also be applied to many other areas like keeping a neighborhood clean, minimizing crime, increasing your child's performance in school, right? When they're surrounded by other people who are high performers, reducing the use of drugs and reducing teen pregnancies, improving health, and so many more other things that you can accomplish when you live together in a physical community with the right people who have the right mind and also have the right heart. Understand? And so I want to thank you again, Chino B, for asking this question, and hopefully this response has been somewhat helpful. And so anyone else out there who has questions or comments, be sure to leave them down below. And I want to thank you for watching all the way until the end. My name is Brooklyn St. Michael, and I'll see you in the free world.